All right, let's move away from Mahikeng for the moment. There's a big business story that we're following today. Embattled international retail giant Steinhoff is holding its annual general meeting, its AGM. The company is saying its audited results are only going to be released in January, with unaudited results coming up in June. Aarti Narsee, my colleague, has been following this for us. And Aarti, hello to you. It's quite a complicated AGM. It's happening over in Holland, but they're able to live stream it in South Africa, and be that as it may, I think a lot of people very upset with the kind of damage that Steinhoff as a company has suffered in the past few months.
That's exactly it, Gareth. Many investors here present, flying in from Johannesburg even to Cape Town, just to take a listen to the live stream from the Netherlands, and obviously the Steinhoff chair, Heather Son, chairing this AGM, and a number of concerns being raised by investors, particularly from Germany and as well as from the Netherlands, asking with regards to when this PwC investigation will be concluded, and whether those results will be made public, so that investors obviously can make some sense of what's going on in the company. And also some questions around the supervisory board that is here today and that will obviously be nominated. Questions around their independence and whether they had any role in the scandal when it broke last year, December. And also interestingly, Gareth, there's obviously an undertaking that came from Heather Son today, saying that if the PwC investigation reveals that any of these supervisory board members were implicated in the financial irregularities, that they will take responsibility and resign with immediate effect. But what I can say is that there are a lot more questions than answers. We know that this is not the first time Steinhoff is in the spotlight, with the heads of Steinhoff being in Parliament and answering to SCOPA as well as the Finance Committee. So a lot of the information that was given today at the AGM was not new for many of us who have obviously been watching this quite closely.
And for those who are following you on Twitter using the hashtag Aarti, hashtag Steinhoff AGM, they would have seen on your Twitter account that they were talking about the Crystal Visa payments. Again, another hot potato as far as Steinhoff is concerned.
Indeed, and actually Heather Son saying that processes were not followed by the management board and the supervisory board, obviously, which again leads the question of the independence of this board. And also a cloud of doubt hangs around Christo Visser. We know that he presented in Parliament and was asked questions as to when he became aware of these financial irregularities. And he says and he maintains that he only knew a few days earlier, but MPs then again, once again, questioning whether he was actually speaking the truth, because they found it quite strange that someone who was so closely involved in the running of the global retailer did not know about the financial irregularities. And then once again, Gareth, you know, it's not just the South African interests, but we know that the Dutch Investors Association, VEB, and as well as German investors have instituted legal proceedings against Steinhoff, and those are ongoing. And the Dutch investors are particularly focused on the auditor Deloitte, who was obviously responsible for not signing off on those statements last year, asking to what extent was Deloitte involved in this financial irregularity. So once again casts a shadow of doubt on the auditing bodies in South Africa, which are obviously being closely watched by the financial sector as well as Parliament.
Well, I do imagine then, Aarti, as a final question, that something like PwC, they confirmed that a number of interesting and suspicious transactions taken place over many years. That investigation is ongoing. No doubt these shareholders are going to want to know when is that investigation going to conclude, so they can try and get Steinhoff back on track. It's going to affect the bottom line, isn't it?
Indeed, and the investigation, according to the report by Heather Son, is that it will be concluded in December. But we know that obviously a lot of the investigations, particularly with the Financial Services Board and other regulatory boards, will not be concluded until those restated financial statements are made public by Deloitte, and many of the investigations are obviously dependent on that. What I can say, though, is that The chairperson, Heather Son, has made it very clear that they cannot divulge a lot of the information that many of the investors are asking about because of the various legal proceedings that are obviously underway and ongoing. So in terms of information, in terms of being forthcoming with information, it hasn't been as positive at this particular AGM. And on a side note, Gareth, I must also mention that the Public Servants Association, they wrote to Steinhoff requesting that unions be present at this AGM, but they were denied that request. And they staged a protest earlier today because they were extremely livid with not being able to safeguard the interests of obviously those millions of funds that were invested in pension with the global retailer. So we also expect that there will be some legal action then coming from the PSA, obviously pending on those Deloitte restated financial statements.
Well, no doubt we can expect a full report from you. A very complicated story to follow, especially with the court case and the limited information. Aarti Narsee, thank you very much indeed. If you want more details on that, go and follow her on Twitter. Her handle is at AJ Narsee, Narsee. You can go and get more information on the Steinhoff AGM.